Aha, we are live. We are now live. Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Welcome to this week's February 25th happy half hour here with Carolina Retirement Planners. And I'm David Shakavich.
And I'm Sam Shukavich.
My daughter. We are, for those of you who may be here for the first time, we are partners in Carolina Retirement Planners. And for the last, is this our 34th one?
Maybe 35?
Something like just 34, 5.
It's 34. This is 34.
For the last 34 weeks, dutifully every Thursday, we have come to you at 4:30 to kind of have some fun and do a little education and things like that. And it has been fun, and the crowds have been growing. It's been good. It's been good. And you know, if you are here, we will only know if you're here because you say hi in the chat. We can't see you. We got Zoom feeding Facebook, and we can see that two Ricks are here. Rick and Marcy is here, and Bruce is here, and our top fan Miranda is here as well. I know some of them, like Miranda, have been here, and probably at least one of the Ricks, maybe both, have been here almost every week. So it has been really good. So
and Cindy's here with bells on for the funeral.
Yes, here Cindy's here to celebrate the death of the Stretch, or we're going to have
or to mourn.
That is our topic here. Bart is here.
Hey, Bart.
Ricky. Our topic today is the death. It has to do with death. It's the death of the Stretch IRA. We're going to talk about, how it or what it means. We're going to talk about the few exceptions that exist where for some people, it isn't dead. And then we're going to talk about what you can do about it, So good fun.
Yeah. Hey, Jeff and Yoko, thank you for joining us. And Tom and Wanda, some of our other regulars, welcome y'all.
Yeah, and
Dad, what are you drinking today?
Tea. I'm drinking tea. But it might be warm enough that we can sit outside in Tarantelli's under the heaters, in which case there's a High West double rye Manhattan in my near future, So we actually ate out at the City Club. Many of you have been to the City Club in the luncheons we've held for clients there over the years, and they got a great front porch, and we often sit out there. We're kind of avoiding eating inside until we both get injected and inspected and all. And so, but we like sitting outside is great. So we were out there with Dogma today, had lunch at the City Club on the front porch. It was just warm enough, so it was good. Hey, another reminder, if you're on here, down below on Facebook, it'll say share. And if you click share, it says watch party. And if you click watch party, it'll tell your friends on Facebook that you're here watching this, and they can come and join you, and you can chat with them as well. So, it's and that also lets people get educated and learn more about us. So if you'd like to start a watch party with your friends, please do so. And it's a great way to do it.
You know what else? Can I chime in that they can do? If they actually are on right now with us, they can hit the little thumb up and like our video, or even better yet, they can give us a big heart and love it, because that helps get the word out as well.
Yeah, so like our video and heart our video, and it is interesting because Facebook, that by the way was Amy. Amy is behind the scenes. She is I've decided to change her name from director of client events to director of client fun, and but she makes this all happen for us here behind the scenes, and who else we have? We have where do we leave off? We've got Beth and David and Pat.
We got Bob and Val and Nadine.
Brad
and Pat.
Patricia.
And yes, so today it's a cool day. It's Many of you know from our email, it's National Chili Day. And one of the things that I love is that my mom did not know that it was National Chili Day. And out of the goodness of her heart, she just came by and dropped me off a big batch of chili. My dad's actually real angry about it because he thinks it was his chili that was
She'll make
supposed to be
more.
for him.
She'll make
Uh,
more.
But she just dropped me off a big batch of chili and a big batch of beef stew and a big thing of salads. So I am loving Chili Day.
As many of you know, my wife and I got a cabin sort of just south of Raleigh in the Uwharrie Mountains. There's a mountain chain in the middle of North Carolina. It's really old, but as a result, it's not really high. So once in a while, I'll go up there for a weekend on my own, and I'll take chili. I'll eat chili for supper every night. You know, it's just bachelor heaven. You know, you're kind of like out there having a good time. So
I have to agree. I can just side note, not that I have a cabin, but I could totally eat chili every night myself. 100%.
yeah,
I love it.
it
Love
goes really well with red wine too. Yeah.
Mhm.
It goes really well with vodka as well.
So,
Well, Dad, I happened to call you while you were up there last weekend, and you were just having a blast, weren't you? You sounded like you were having a blast like a kid in a candy store.
I
like-
got a new hobby. I got a
Mhm.
new hobby. This is cool. It turns out that the Uwharrie Mountains is one of the first places in the entire United States where they discovered gold. And there are gold mines, old gold mines throughout there. In fact, the nearest town to the cabin is called El Dorado, after the El Dorado of gold, you know? And you can go panning in these streams and, you know, little sluices. They let you do it on federal land as long as you just do the stream and you don't get too big and too much equipment and, you know, suction stuff. And so people are always there panning gold. So I bought a couple basic gold panning devices, and I went out because there's these little streams that run through that I love to hike through. And I got this illusion of going out there and panning gold. And I went to two of them. I didn't find any gold. I didn't check, you know, it was a limited sample, but I had a ball. I mean, it's like, I don't know about you guys and gals, when you were kids, if you went down to play in the creek, you know, you went down to the creek and you looked for crawfish, and you whatever lived under rocks, you turned rocks over and played and had built dams. You remember building dams in the creek and all this stuff.
I remember looking for crawfish. You and I used to always go out and turn over rocks looking for crawfish. when I was
Yeah,
a
it
kid.
was so much. Well, now I'm sitting there on a bucket in the middle of this creek with boots on, you know, shoveling up rocks, screening them out, panning for gold. It's like, dang. And it turns out I'm on this Facebook group for gold panners. And there's a whole bunch of people catch this gold bug, and they're out there searching for gold. I got all kinds of devices, and it's just, and they're showing pictures of the gold they got in their pan, the little bits of gold. And so I got a new hobby. I figure, you know, and it's kind of nice because it's kind of easier to do when the water's high. So when it's really rainy, the river's muddy and the fishing's not so good, but the gold panning's good. So it's all going to work out. So I will keep you posted on how much gold I find in the ensuing months, you know.
You know,
You're going to need to get a rock tumbler so that you can make, you know, some of just even the rocks and things. You really should.
oh,
You'd
yeah.
be surprised. You
I
can
could
make some
do
great
that.
things.
I could do that. It
Oh,
just,
that's an excellent idea.
but it's a really cool area. Lots of quartz. Mountains are really. I'm digging up books on this geology, find the strikes and dips of all the things, figure out where I can go. There might be the most gold. It's a interesting hobby. So.
Well, Dad, I think you sound a little bit too gleeful for the very solemn.
Yeah, when
topic
we
that
better
we
get to
have for
work, because
today.
people do come here to learn, not just to hear
Well,
us.
Well, as you transition to the board, I will say hello to whoever we've missed, which is Evan. Hey, Evan, and I'm sorry, Ellen and Diane, and Ed and Carol Ann and JP and Martha. Ooh, and Nadine had a vegan black bean chili. That sounds good. And Kay and Bruce. Oh,
Yeah, you're always welcome to drop
yep.
chili off at
Bruce,
the office.
Bruce, we did live for a time in Pittsburgh. You are correct. He could tell.
Yeah.
And
The city
Pat.
that lets you in. No, that was Buffalo. Never mind. Well, I had a good time in Pittsburgh. In fact, Katie, her sister was born in Pittsburgh. But that's enough of that now. We gotta get this done so we can.
All right, let's go. Tell us the sad news, Dad.
Okay, we've been told all these years that what you should do is, as you're working, you want to put money into your IRA. And if just as you recall, an IRA, a 401k, a 403b, a 457, a TSP, they're all kind of the same. When I'm working, they take the money out of my paycheck and they put it in there, and we don't pay any tax on it. We don't see that money essentially on our tax return. It goes into this, it goes in there without paying tax. And then later on, when you take it out, or whoever gets it after you takes it out, then they pay the tax. The idea is put it all in there. And there's a lot of people, they have a good pension and Social Security, and often a lot of the money in their IRA they don't even need. Their intent was to leave it to my kids and my grandkids. And we were learned to put it in there. And until last year, you could do what's called the Stretch IRA. And what that means is, let's take a little bit of an example. Let's say that you got married when you were 30 and you had a little daughter. What should we call the daughter's name, Sam?
Daisy.
Daisy. Okay. So you had Daisy as a daughter at age 30. And 50 years later, when you were 80, you died. And so Daisy got the IRA, she inherited the IRA. Now, of course, she's now 50. And when that first year, when she's 50, she'd have to take out, actually, it's a little less than 3% that year. And then each year, that amount she takes out goes up a little. It's because she's taking it out based on her life expectancy. So by the time she's 60, it's gone up to 4%. And the time she's 70, it goes up to 6%, 80 is 10. So, but basically she could take this IRA, and let's say you had $1 million in your IRA when you died. She could take this million out slowly, stretch it out over her life expectancy. So she didn't have to see a whole lot of it at once, and the rest could sit there and grow and not be taxed. And that's the way it was then.
And many of our clients and many of you out there, you've been Daisy. Many of you have an inherited IRA, and you've experienced it. Experienced how, every year you've got a little bit that's sent out, a little chunk that's sent to you, and that chunk gets probably a little bit bigger and bigger each year.
And the rules changed last year. Now, Sam, if you die with this $1 million IRA, what's the longest that Daisy can keep the money in the IRA?
If I were to die now,
or if this guy died at 80 this year
in 2021, 10 years.
10 years. So she'd have to take it out when she was 60. Now, let's say she says, okay, I'm going to let the million sit there and grow for 10 more years, and I'm going to take it all out at 60. What's the problem with that?
Then then Daisy would be taxed on, $1 million of income all at once.
Yeah, it looks like she made $1 million that year. Yeah. And if I go to my tax table, that puts her in the highest bracket, which is 37%. the top, at least half that money or so is going to be taxed at 37%. Actually, a little more because Medicare tax goes up. There's some other things that go up when you make that much money. So she's going to get 40% of that money is going to go to taxes. So what could she do to prevent having that $1 million hit?
You know, take it out over the course of those 10 years over time. You know, maybe 100,000 or so each year, depending on how much it grows.
Instead of stretching it out this long period here, she could just take it out, spread it out over 10 years. $1 million, 10 years is about 100,000 a year. It's going to be more than that because if the million grows in the interim, you'll be taking out more. So now she's only adding 100,000 to her income. But here's one of the things, one of the principles when you understand how IRA money like this is taxed. I'm going to go over here to what I might call my tax column. And if I look at this tax column, let's say Daisy was working, she was real successful, and let's say she was making about $170,000 a year from her salary. And well, the first 20,000 or so is taxed at 10%. So she's paying about 2,000 in tax. The next, everything from 20 to about 81 is taxed at 12%. So that's about 7,000. And then everything from 81 to 172 is taxed at 22%. That'd be about 20,000. So it looks like it's about $27,000. I worked it out. It's about 17% average tax on that first 170. But see, we're pouring the 100,000 on top of that, and everything on top of that is taxed at this 24% level. So the entire 100 wouldn't be taxed at like an average of 17. It would be taxed at 24. So when you get money out of an IRA or even an inherited IRA, it's taxed at your highest rate. In fact, it can drive you into even higher rates like 32 and 35. So just a little reminder of tax brackets and how they work. And so, boy, that's the new world. The stretch is dead. And what it really means is that if you leave a big IRA to your kids, they're going to pay more tax on it, because usually when you die, they're in their higher peak earning years, right? So it's a way to get even more tax, the government to get more tax dollars. Now, the government needs tax dollars because our debt is the highest it's ever been, really. Our job is to have somebody else, not you, pay those taxes, okay? So that's why you're here, is to learn the techniques. Now, Sam, is the stretch dead for everybody?
The stretch is not dead for everybody.
So who are the exceptions?
All right, so we do have some exceptions. The first of which is temporary. Is government plans. So through the end of 2021, a 403B, 457B, or TSPs, if you were to pass with one of these, or if you were to inherit one of these, you or your loved ones would still get the stretch.
I love it. The rest of us got hammered last year, but if you work for the government, they gave you 2 more years.
Yeah, they gave themselves 2 more years to plan, but everybody else had to adjust immediately.
So a tax tip: if you're a government worker and you got a big IRA to pass on, it would be better if you died in 2021 than waiting till a little humor there. Sorry.
But
okay, who else?
Yes. Okay. So on a more permanent note, so they did this new rule created a new class of beneficiaries. They call this the eligible designated beneficiary, also known as the EDB. And
I'm not going to go with jargon. Who's in this class?
Who's in this class, obviously surviving spouses. Surviving spouses still get this stretch. They are always going to have the most flexibility. And as this is the same as before the Secure Act, before the death of the stretch, if your spouse passes and you are under 59 and a half, you have a few different options to consider about how you take that IRA. And it's really important to consider those options before you make any moves.
Yeah, and we won't go into it today because
that's a whole different thing. But
yeah, but the thing is, if you know someone whose spouse has passed, they need to be sure they get good advice on what to do with that IRA. Because I'll give you a quick example. You do it right, you as a spouse can get the money out without penalty, even though you're not 59 and a half yet. If you do it wrong, you're not going to be able to get it out without penalty. So who else?
And this was one of the questions that we got. Minor children. If you have, and many of our clients aren't going to be in this boat, but if you were to have a minor child, they can get the stretch up until the age of majority, which is 18 in most states. And at that point, at the age of 18, then that 10-year time bomb, the 10-year clock would start. So by the time they're 18, they have until age 28 to take it out, unless they're in school, in which point they can continue the stretch until they leave school or they turn 26. One of the things that's important to note is that this does not apply to your grandchildren. This is only for your children.
Only kids. And in this call with retirees, probably not a lot of you out there with minor children. You probably have minor grandchildren, but not minor children. So it applies more to someone who's younger who should pass away.
Absolutely. Two other classes of people who would continue to get the stretch are individuals who are disabled or chronically ill. And they are defined as such by the IRS rules, which are very strict. And they must be disabled or chronically ill at the time of the IRA owner's death in order to get the stretch. They can't become disabled or chronically ill after the IRA owner's death and then get the stretch. And then the last class is people who are less than 10 years younger than the IRA owner. So if you're practically the same age as the IRA owner, they will let you continue to get the stretch.
So, there's a lot of, how do you know all this stuff, Sam?
Well, I know this because you are sitting right next to me, Dad. We are members of Ed Slott's Elite Advisor Group. So we have sat for many hours pre-COVID in crowded ballrooms and post-COVID in front of computer screens, listening to very dense, very long presentations about tax law.
Ed Slott is
IRA tax law.
Ed Slott is known as the country's CPA. He
CPA.
actually has a public television program on taxes, especially retirement taxes. And if we invest in this, we spend a lot of money, but he trains us on the nuances, and he has also a group of people who are experts that we can call. And so that's how we know, because I'll tell you, you think it's boring here, you should sit and go through the case. Anyway.
I know, I almost feel bad putting you through this, but I want to give you just a little bit of information, but oh my goodness, all the steps that we had.
This is why you need to have someone to call when something happens.
Absolutely. There's two more just little caveats that I want to note before I bore you completely to death is if you were to pass away and you leave your IRA to an adult child who has, cannot get the stretch, you have the 10-year clock, it sets a 10-year clock. If they pass away 7 years into that 10 years and say they leave it to your grandchild, their child, your grandchild doesn't get a new 10-year clock. They have the 3 years left of that 10-year clock. And so at that point, you've better hope that your children's advisor, your children has done a really good job of keeping track of that 10-year clock. You better hope that they've been, monitoring how well they've been taking that money out. Maybe there's still $1 million sitting in there and your grandchild has to figure out what to do with that.
Well, what happens if you cheat, if you don't take it out in 10 years? Is there a penalty?
There is a harsh penalty. It's the same for the RMD as it would be for the RMDs. You're penalized 50% of what you don't take out. And then you're also taxed on that 50%.
Yeah. So if you let the $1 million go, they're going to take $500,000 as a penalty, and you'll owe tax. Let's say you were in that 40% bracket, you'd owe $200,000 on the half you got and $200,000 on the half they took. So of the $500,000 you got, $400,000 would go in taxes, and you'd be down to $100,000 of that $1 million. You see why you want to be careful about this.
Yes.
Now, what do you do about it? There's a number of solutions, but let me give you one, because we're getting close to wine drawing time. Let me give you like the biggest one. If I was to have converted that IRA, if in the last 10 or 20 years, I had converted the IRA to a Roth, I had paid the taxes, and I had left we'd left Daisy a Roth IRA. Now, Daisy, if in the old days, Daisy would have to start taking money out of that Roth IRA. Roths are great. They're growing tax-free. They're going to come out tax-free. You want to grow your money in a Roth. In fact, here's a little lesson or a moral here. IRAs are great places to accumulate money. They're terrible places to pass money on. This is where the government's going to pay down the debt as we pass IRAs on. Roths are great ways to pass money. So if I converted it at all the right rates, and we've done this in past happy half hours and on rogo.com, if I did that, I still have to, before I would have to start draining it. Now I can leave it there till for those full 10 years. And on the last day of the last year, I could take that entire $1 million and all the growth in that $1 million out. So I could get 10 more years of tax-free growth on that, take it all out at once, tax-free. So it's a double-edged sword. If you know what you're doing, you can get 10 more years of tax-free growth. If you don't know what you're doing, you're going to get clobbered. So again, a little bit of a lesson here on the IRA. Hey, before we go to drawing, a couple of things. One is, if you would like some more info on this. One, we have the 2021 tax tables that include the percentages you'd have to take out, all the percentages for RMDs and everything else. And you ought to have one of these on your refrigerator just to remind you. And then we also have from Ed Slott, we have the Secure Act. It talks all about the rules that change. There's more in that act, and we can get this to you as well. How do they get that? How do they get this, Amy?
If they send us an email to info at carolinarp.com, I'll get everybody's name together and have Mary send it out to them next week. I'll drop that in the comments, the email address.
Carolina, the letter is rp.com, carolinaretirementplanners.com. And we've been dealing with this in Roth conversions and all with our clients. It's kind of a regular part. If you're a guest here and you say, boy, I don't, I wonder how does this apply to me? And you want to chat with us, we can set up a 15-minute phone call. We can just set up a time, no cost obligation, just chat about your situation. Amy, how can they do that?
They can give us a call at the office at 910-815-3100. Or if you're cool with it, I can put a link to your calendar and they can just directly
Yeah,
schedule that way.
put a link to our calendar, put the phone
Perfect.
number in the notes too. And, you know, we can chat about your situation and if you'd like to get a copy of these.
Mhm.
So it's time for the best part of,
Yes.
of it.
And I'm so sorry. Oh goodness, I'm sorry. My dog is freaking out. I do see that we have a lot of questions that we couldn't get to, and I'm so sorry about that. I know that it is a hot button topic. Gosh, I'm so sorry. My dog is just freaking out. Jesse, will you please relax?
I swear it's the nice weather. It's because it's been raining. So now that there's sunshine, because my dogs are acting like complete morons too. I was like, what's going on?
Let me out there. So we had a whole bunch of entries today. So we've expanded it. So now if you have a Facebook account and you RSVP to our Facebook event, you click like going, we will enter you into the wine drawing. And if you forward our emails to a friend and you let us know, we enter you in twice. And we've had some people this week that told us they forwarded us to 2 people. And I put your name in here 4 times. So that was really cool. So we have all different ways for you to enter.
Telling Facebook you attended is a good thing. Facebook likes that. They promote us. They tell people about it. So if you go to Facebook next week and say, I'm going to be there or interested or whatever that thing is on Facebook, that's good too. We like it just.
Okay. So the winner of our wine drawing this
drum
week,
roll.
Yes, you're gonna win 2 bottles of wine delivered directly to your door from Fermental Bottle Shop, located in Ogden. A cool family-run business, a really cool place to go on a beautiful day such as today. They've got a bunch of outdoor seating, a walk-up window. You don't even have to go inside. A beautiful spot. Our winner this week is Nadine J. So congratulations, Nadine. Nadine, you are one of the people who forwarded our email on to some friends. So congratulations. You have won 2 bottles of wine. So
she did a lot. She forwarded, she Facebook RSVP'd, she sent an email. I think she did everything you could possibly do. So
I definitely wrote a name on
we appreciate it, and so does Chance. You know, fate smiled on Nadine. So
yeah.
Now what's our topic next week?
Are bonds safe?
Are bonds safe? You know, bonds are, a lot of people don't understand how you can lose money in bonds. And, you know, there's a lot of talk about interest rates going up and inflation going up, and sooner or later it's going to go up. And it's important to understand that. And so we'll have a fun little talk thing on bonds and are they safe? And the week after that's a real special one, isn't it? We're doing, and this is one you'll want to tell.
Do you want me to tell you now?
Yeah, tell us now.
I don't remember.
It's for the ladies only. It's like ladies only time.
Well, it's not for ladies only. We're going to have the thing is dedicated to the sort of finances and the special things women face. Sam and I, we've done classes now just for women. We've done some events. It has helped me appreciate that all the planning we're doing is for the woman, not the man. And we'll tell you about that. But, men don't have to come unless you have a woman you care about and you want to understand it as well. So, but you want to tell your lady friends 2 weeks to come to that one, because it's going to be eye-opening with some really good advice and why it's going to be so important to you. So, okay. Well, with that, anything, we cover everything? Think so. Well, everybody, till next week, next Thursday, cheers.
Cheers.
See you then. Happy half hour.